What's up, everyone? Today's guest is a man named Ryan Winger. Ryan is a Southern California surfer bro who came up in the 80s and 90s as part of that California outlaw surfing community.
Surfers are very tribal by nature. We definitely weren't welcoming to guys from Orange County, Huntington Beach coming up and surfing our area, you know.
He surfed all over the world, including Australia, where in the late 90s and early 2000s, he started a Los Angeles to Sydney cocaine smuggling operation that made millions of dollars.
I left the money for a full brick. A few weeks later, he flew down there and it went, you know, smooth as silk.
This guy was the real deal. He had couriers, other surfing bros who would tape kilos to their body and walk through the x-ray machines at LAX. He had people working for the airlines in Australia who would take the kilos out of the airplane and get them through customs.
You want to go to a designated bathroom in the back of the plane, unstrap it from your body, stick it in the trash can, boom, you walk out of there, your job's done. The plane lands in Sydney. These guys are on the plane, going into that trash can, grabbing the coke, stashing it into a food trolley that they're already removing from the plane, and that cocaine is off the plane before you are.
He made millions of dollars, and he ended up taking a fall and spending 4 years inside of an Australian prison.
He's like, Mr. Winger, nice to finally meet you. I've been listening to your phone calls for years.
Today, he's a free man, sober, and he still continues to surf all over the world, and he's here to tell us exactly about how all of that went down.
What's the difference between us and rock stars, you know? Yeah. We're chasing chicks, drugs, and surfing. I mean, take out the rock and roll, it was just surfing. It was definitely a rock and roll lifestyle.
This is a killer interview. You're gonna love this one. You're watching The Connect with Johnny Mitchell.
Still have the mindset of a little kid that same little kid that started surfing in Venice. I still have that hunger for the surf. The action's just different now.
That's when I see the lights behind me start to flash. And I didn't even think, I just hit it. I was driving like my life depended on it. Then I parked the car, hopped out, closed the door, and I started running.
And he pulls out a burner, a shank, it's like 6 inches. And he passes it to me. And he goes, here, that's yours. Don't ever leave the cell block without this. He was the reason I made it out of that place alive.
All right, Ryan Winger, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just, you know, I just got back from a big surf trip to Indonesia.
Yeah.
And getting acclimated back to this Southern California weather. And
so you've never put that away. You've always been a surfer.
Always been a surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moment I started when I was about, 8, 9 years old in Venice Beach, it hooked me right off the bat.
You're a quintessential Southern California surfer boy. I can hear it in your accent. You know what I mean? You're like what we dreamed about, like as like a white boy Californian, like the stereotype. That's you a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, except I lost the blonde hair at some point.
Did you have the long locks? Did you have the long hair past your ears?
I had the blonde hair, and I don't know. I got older, and I miss that blonde hair, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And, yeah,
I hear you. Don't we all, man? So you basically went to high school in Ventura. You're born in LA, raised in Venice, but then you guys relocated to Ventura.
Yeah. My parents split up when I was pretty young.
Yeah.
And surfing first took hold of me in Venice.
Yeah.
And, my family, I moved with my mom from Venice out to Upland in the Inland Empire.
Yeah, proper shithole.
And my dad at the time was living in Ventura on a sailboat, and I would get shuttled back and forth. And after 1 year in Upland, I told my mom, I said, I can't do it out here. And I moved with my dad full time in Ventura. That was in 7th grade.
All right. So you've been there basically ever since.
Ever since.
So how does Ventura stack up in terms of like surfing culture, compared to like San Diego, to Orange County, all the way up to like San Francisco? Like everybody, has different like surfing cliques. How does that rank?
Ventura definitely has produced some of the top, most world-class surfers in the world.
Really?
Ventura, I'll say the Ventura, Santa Barbara area, with the 805 area code.
Yeah.
All these guys who are world-class surfers. You know?
And Ventura, the 805 has produced them.
Yes.
And is that because the waves are better, or the culture is more, you guys are hard working? Like what is
Ventura is a blue collar town.
Yeah.
You know, it used to
Totally.
be when I was growing up, it was known as Bakersfield by the Sea.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
It's, as most places in California, it's starting to get gentrified a bit, and it's kind of is losing that edge it had when I was growing up there in the 80s.
But I imagine that produced hard men, and hardworking young surfers too.
Yeah, and it was very definitely it was very localized. Surfers are very tribal by nature.
Of course. Yeah.
So you could grow up in Ventura surfing some of the local breaks in Ventura, but you may not be welcome at a spot just 3 miles down the road at Silver Strand Beach in Oxnard, where it was very localized there.
Locals only, man. You ever hear that? Isn't that what they scream?
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of Point Break. I have all my surfing knowledge from Keanu Reeves' best movie.
Yeah,
Would you guys beef with other beaches?
It was more just, like
good fun.
Yeah, it was all in good fun.
Yeah.
And, actually as growing up, we actually became pretty good friends with a lot of the kids from Oxnard, and we kind of united, and some of those guys became some of my best friends and still are today, and, but there was definitely there's a rivalry.
Right. So, but you guys definitely, compared to all of the other coastal California surfing communities, you guys are the grimiest for sure. You guys are the blue collar ones. You're not San Diego. You're not Orange County. Oh, you're definitely not Half Moon Bay and, the rich kids up in Monterey.
Yeah. Everywhere, surfers, Santa Cruz is a pretty, I know it's blowing up there a lot, but they're
Santa Cruz was grimy back in the day.
Yeah. It's grimy, you know. Yeah. Ventura definitely wasn't as, we weren't.
You guys weren't private school kids.
Yeah, we weren't. Your
dad grew up on a boat.
Yeah, we weren't the most popular area to surf in. We weren't definitely weren't welcoming to guys from Orange County, Huntington Beach, coming up and surfing our area.
Makes sense. And so your father grew up on a boat.
Yeah, he didn't grow up on a boat, but he was living on a boat when I went to live with him. Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is already making a lot of sense, and I'm not even a therapist, but so you're from a divorced family now. You're growing up. Your dad is on a boat. You're probably not supervised a lot of the time.
No.
Yeah.
No. I definitely. My dad worked hard. He worked he commuted every day to Hollywood. He worked in the movie industry. He was a grip.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So they worked, big hours.
Of course. Yeah. Those guys are.
I'd wake up in the morning and my dad was gone. So I'd make a decision whether or not I was on my own, whether or not I was going to school that day.
Yeah, of course.
And, and my dad wouldn't get home till 10 o'clock at night, And so, I was unsupervised quite a bit.
Yeah. So did you get into selling pot like all the kids in high school, or how did it?
There was, moving little bits here and there, some of the guys I looked up to the most at the beach, the older surfers, they sold pot and did whatever, grew pot, did things like that where, they had their little hustles to, surfers by nature. We're not saying we're lazy, but we let the lifestyle, right. You want to be on the waves when the waves are good. And, so to be able to afford that lifestyle without working, you're going to be doing little things on the side,
well, that's what we were saying off the podcast. It's a lot surfer cliques. They remind me of motorcycle gangs in that the money is secondary to the lifestyle and the identity and the freedom,
Definitely.
The Mongol biker gang. Most of the time they like cruising. They just want to have the freedom of a 50-man biker posse, and those things are terrifying, right?
Right.
And they're going from Bakersfield to Fresno, and nobody can stop them. It's very much, that's what gives them juice,
Right.
And they fund that through criminality. So I think maybe surfer communities could be the same way.
Yeah. We were more like some of my group of friends, it was more like little crimes of opportunity. I remember once this is back in the early 90s, and friend of mine, through So I don't want to give away too much, but we ended up with like a box full of food stamps. And this is back when the food stamps were actually, they actually looked like Monopoly money almost. And we were selling those for like 60 cents on the dollar. To different people that we knew. And next thing you know, we're at this little Indian market in Ventura, in a shady part of Ventura. And the owner of the market, this Indian guy, he's buying them off us for like 60, 70 cents on the dollar. We're selling them 1,000 at a time.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And
that's not bad.
Yeah. And we're like 16 years old.
There's $600.
Yeah. So we were stoked, you know, like those were like our little, anytime there was like an opportunity to make money, we didn't care about the consequences. We were all over it.
That's the hustle.
You know?
That's the hustle.
It was the hustle, you know? So it was inbred. I don't know if it was inbred in me, but it was just like, I loved the action.
Yeah.
I loved the action. And then the money that came along with it was, okay. It's
exciting.
It's exciting.
You're getting excitement on the waves. You're getting excitement, funding how you fund getting on the waves.
Yes.
Did you guys have like old ladies? Like, did you guys have like groupies the way that, bikers have their old ladies?
There's always a little surfer chicks that want to hang out with the surfer boys, and, definitely. Just like there's the chicks that gravitate to the jocks, you know? And so, there was always the girls, around and, I'm not saying I was like super, super like popular with all of them, but there was always girls around. And we had our little posse of girls that like to hang out with with us, And I had my little crew of dudes, and it was fun.
All right, you guys, let's take a minute to thank our amazing sponsor for today's show. If you're a fan, you already know what it is. Mood, Delta 8 and Delta 9 products. You guys go over to hellomood.co right now to get an array of all of the best Delta 8 and Delta 9 products. Look, we got a Rice Krispie treat made with like some kind of delicious cereal. We got edibles of all kinds, cookies, and of course, incredible gummies. You guys, they are the best Delta 8 and Delta 9 products company on the market right now. You already know this. Go over to hellomood.co right now and use promo code CONNECT20 to get 20% off everything and anything on their website. And of course, if you want a free pack of gummies, use that promo code CONNECTFREE. All you got to do is pay for the shipping. They will ship you a free pack of gummies. Support them because they support us. hellomood.co to get all of the best Delta 8 and Delta 9 products on the market. All right, let's get back into the episode. How did it elevate? How did it go from like, moonlighting as, a small time pot dealer, a petty hustler, thief, whatever it was.
Right.
How did that graduate to bigger time, cocaine selling?
Well, I'll tell you, my best friend, he won't mind me dropping his name, Jesse. He actually got accepted to go to it was a Cal State Chico up in Northern California. Mm-hmm. And so he was going to college, and I don't know if you know where Chico is.
I've been to Chico.
Yeah, it's a little farm
way
town.
Up there, and it's to the right, not the left of the I-5. That means you're going deep.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he was going there, and he realized that there was a market. There's all these college kids who got lots of money, parents' money, scholarship money, grant money, and credit cards, and and there was a market for cocaine there.
Right.
And next thing you know, we're taking cocaine up to Chico.
Yeah.
And it started out with an ounce, a couple ounces. And next thing you know, we're driving up like 10 ounces and then maybe like a pound. It never got more than that. It was usually about 10 ounces.
Right.
And I was driving up there quite regularly. He was going to school. I was driving up there.
Who was your connect? Who were you buying from?
I had a friend, he was just a friend from high school, and he moved quite a bit, and who he got it from, I'm not sure, but it was pretty good quality.
Yeah.
And we were driving it up there.
So you weren't buying from like Mexican connected guys?
No, but I'm pretty sure my friend that I was getting it from, I'm pretty sure he was.
Gotcha. And what could you make off of selling your friend at Chico 10 ounces?
Well,
what kind of profit could you make per ounce?
We and him were, back then, this is in like 1994, 95. So it was a long time ago. And we were probably turning, I'm going to say that we're getting our ounces for back then for about $700, you know, somewhere in that range, long time ago, you know, probably turning it into like maybe doubling our money, you know, make $1,500
per ounce, wholesale.
Per ounce.
That's how much you just.
Well, we weren't selling them ounces. We're grams and 8 balls and teaners.
So you would take 10 ounces up there and you wouldn't leave until you had sold it all
and
out.
it would sell like that.
Oh, gotcha.
We would sell it over a weekend.
Oh,
usually.
so I thought you were dumping it off to somebody else wholesale.
No,
Interesting.
I was helping him, and you know, and up there was. I remember the first time I went up there with him, or I went up there to see him, and I took like maybe 1 or 2 ounces. I can't remember how much, but it was a small amount, you know.
Yeah.
And that was gone the first night.
So you must have had good coke.
It was good coke.
Because when you take good coke to a small market, chances are you have the best product.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I did in Eugene, Oregon. I went to school at the University of Oregon.
Right.
And I got plugged in with my weed suppliers, these Mexican guys, and they all had a bunch of heroin and cocaine lying around. So when I got dialed in with them, that's when it just like couldn't sell fast enough because everybody else had garbage, you know.
Right.
No competition.
Yeah. Well, so we get up there and, you know, it would sell the first night. We'd go to all these little frat houses. There was this one street I remember, and it had like a few frat houses, and we were just going back and forth to go to this one, and it had like grams and teeners and that. Yeah. And these college kids, they think they're so smart, you know, and we'd sell them a gram, and then they'd call up like 2 hours later, same guys, want another gram. 2 hours after that, they're calling for another gram. We're like, why didn't this guy just buy an 8 ball? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
well, that's the nature of cocaine. You think you only need one.
I know, right? But we never told them that, you know, because we were making more money selling it just as a gram. And, you know, and they weren't even always a gram. Maybe if we didn't like the guy, if it was a good guy we liked, you know, we'd get a full gram. But some of these guys we might sell, it might be like a little under 0.7 or 0.8.
Right.
You know,
so you're making thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Moving, you know, these packs, these 9 quarter keys, basically.
Yes.
To college kids. Oh, how old are you at this point?
21, 22 years old.
Yeah. Okay. So you got a good trade.
Yes.
And then what are you doing with your money?
Back then, it was going on surf trips. I went right around this time. I went on one of my first overseas surf trips by myself to Indonesia.
Nice.
And just things like that, you know, going to Mexico, surf trips. It was all to fund the lifestyle.
Yes,
you know? I wasn't buying cars.
Yeah, you're not materialistic. You don't strike me as that kind of guy.
No,
you're kind of like me. You need the freedom more than anything.
Yeah, it was all definitely for the lifestyle.
Money's just freedom. In many ways, you're doing exactly what money is intended to do. Like people should use money that way. It's just a tool to free yourself from, you know, the doldrums of having to work a 9-to-5 job.
Yes. That's very much what it was.
You're like ski bums. I met a million guys on the mountain that, you know, sold drugs just so they could live in a cabin and go snowboarding half the year.
I know guys like that.
Yeah.
You know, their thing was snowboarding. You know, a couple of guys I know, they dedicated their lives to snowboarding. They moved to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they did years there, you know, and they funded, you know, their lifestyle by harvest season. They were in Northern California trimming and taking bud back to Jackson Hole and selling it there, you know.
I met and actually used to re-up from, I had several different, when I was hustling, I had several different connects. And one of my re-ups was a group of surfers from Oregon. And I mean, these guys just had it on lock. They were growing and moving thousands of pounds a year, like high grade, really like expensive bud. And after, you know, they sold out probably like January by, you know, harvest in October. By January, all the packs are gone. They've made hundreds of thousands of dollars. They would just pick up and go to Belize and just surf half the year.
Wow.
You know, so it's a common thing what you're getting into, but you're a little heavy. You're selling coke now, so stakes are high.
Yes.
When's the first time you went to Australia? Tell me about how you got hooked up in Oz.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, a good friend of mine, I met my friend Wayne, and Wayno, and he is from Australia.
Can you tell us who Wayno is? Because he's kind of he's known down there.
Yes, he is. He's very well known, and he's a character. he's even a more hardcore surfer than me, probably. You know, he's like a big kid. He surfs some of the most challenging waves on the planet. You know, I definitely know my limits. He's like a guy whose limit is he's set the bar for charging waves a bit higher than me.
Yeah,
you know. So I met him in Ventura when I was probably about 16 years old, and he had already been traveling and surfing. And
he heard about Ventura, so he wanted to come check it out.
He met some guys, some older guys that I knew from the beach, and Ventura guys. That I think he met them in Indonesia, and they told him, you know, come to Ventura, and he was staying with a good friend of ours, of my family. This guy, Tim, and Tim used to do work on my dad's boat. And, you know, Tim was quite a few years older than all of us, even Wayne. Wayne's around my age. And Tim introduced Wayne to all the kids, the surfer kids in the area, you know?
Yeah.
And we all took a liking to him right away. And I stayed in touch with Wayne, and he told me, you know, ever in Australia, you want to come to Australia, you got a place to stay.
And did he know you were selling coke? Did he know about
at that time? I don't know. He knew where we were up to, but he was far away in Australia at the time, you know. And I'm not one to advertise what I was doing to anybody, you know. And but you know, I'm sure. So like getting back to my first trip overseas, I went to Indonesia, and then I went to on that same trip, I flew down to Australia, and I met up with Wayne again.
Okay, gotcha.
And kind of told him, you know, catching up on life, telling him what we were doing, you know, I told him that, you know, me and Jesse, he knew Jesse and what we're doing. And, you know, it was so long, I can't remember the exact details of what we talked about, but I'm sure it was mentioned that this is how the trip was funded.
Sure.
And, you know, and he's right up there, you know, he's doing the same sort of stuff, you know, back home in Sydney.
Gotcha. So he was already involved in that.
Oh yeah, he's definitely in the lifestyle.
Gotcha.
You know, a lot of traveling surfers, especially
there's an understanding.
Yeah.
It's not so far-fetched to be like, yeah, you know, I'm into a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. It's not frowned upon.
No. And it's just what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we do. Some of us, that's just what some of us do. You
know?
When
did you find out? Was it on that trip that you found out what a gram of coke goes for in Australia?
It probably was on that trip.
Yeah.
And
what was it going for at the time?
Then it was like $200 Australian dollars.
And this is what year?
This is like in the mid 90s. This is like mid 95, 96.
So what is 200 Australian? What is that
back
American?
Then?
What American back then?
Well, what it is today, it's about 150.
Okay, so that's cheap because it's doubled in price today. Like a gram goes for about 300. I mean, you would know better than I do.
In Australia. Definitely. Yeah. And depending on where in Australia, I know like in Sydney, you know, you can pay easily $300, $350 a gram, depending on what the market's like at that time.
Now,
how flooded is it? Or
why would it? But I think it's way more flooded now, but I don't understand economics, I guess. Like, why would the coke price be higher when there is more supply these days? Maybe because it's harder to get in. I don't know.
You know, Australia's got it. There's only like 7 major cities in Australia, you know, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth.
Yeah.
And
what about Perth? That's Perth. I had a buddy from Perth in college. That's all the way on the furthest western tip. On the Indian Ocean.
On the Indian Ocean.
I imagine grams are even higher out there.
I've heard that it is higher out there, you know, like $400 a gram.
Because how do you get it there? I mean, it's got to be like, I don't know, what is it, to drive from Sydney across the country? Like, it's got to take days, right?
Yeah, it would take days, and it's some of the most brutal climate you could ever. It's desert.
Right,
it's
like
desert.
driving through Arizona in August or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
Imagine, like 6 days of that or something. You know, it's like, and there's nothing in between.
Do they have an international highway?
There's a highway. It's called the Nullarbor that does go from. I think it. You know, this highway starts like in Melbourne, Australia, it goes through Adelaide, and it ends up in Perth. But there's a stretch there where it is like you're going to go like 100 miles without seeing a gas station.
Yeah.
You know? So you got to be geared up. And
You got to gas up even when you're not low. When you see a gas station, you better just top it off.
Yeah, and you got to have like days worth of water with you, because if you break down, I don't.
You're fucked.
Yeah, and you don't probably no phone signals out there either. You know, so yeah, it is gnarly. So, but the main ports of entry, I imagine, for cocaine going into Australia would be on the east coast of Australia, being Sydney.
Right.
You know, Sydney probably the number one.
Yeah.
You know, Melbourne, I'm sure that's a big port city. So the prices are going to be cheaper compared to the other parts of Australia. But yeah, still Sydney, like $300 a gram at least.
Wow. So, but back in the 90s, for some reason, maybe the quality of Coke was lower. I've heard the quality is still shit. I've heard because when if you actually can get a load all the way down to Australia, the dealers just step on it and step on it. It's just a stretch because you don't know when the next shipment is coming in.
No. And you know, and that's what's funny that you say we used to call it 21 Jump Street by how many times it get jumped on before before somebody would get their hands on it, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, it's every once in a while you could get, you know, you might luck yourself into a pretty good, you know, a decent quality gram like that you know, could get around here.
So it's 1996. Okay. And you look around and you're like, wow, $200 a gram. That's wild. That's like, a 1.5 times, 2 times what it goes for in LA.
Right.
Was that a light bulb moment?
Yeah, it definitely was. And Wayne, he had already had a little something going. He had an uncle that worked at the airport.
Right. The Sydney airport?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so, and, you know, I think in telling him about what I was doing in California, you know, with, it was. What
did his uncle do at the airport?
He worked for the food catering company called Gate Gourmet.
Right.
And Gate Gourmet, you'll see them like at LAX. You'll see them that they're worldwide. And they're the ones that
drive the food up to the plane.
Yeah, like, you know, that are on the trolleys. You know, they push up and down the aisles, and basically his job was like putting restocking the plane, and you know, removing that when the plane arrives, removing the empty trolleys, and so he had access to these planes.
Right. Got it. So he could get onto the plane. He had clearance in the airport, obviously, as an employee, and then he had access to the airplanes.
Yes.
Right. And was he able to, I wonder how he was able to manipulate which planes he got to service. Like, you know, he works for Gate Gourmet. He knows that American Airlines flights coming in from LA. Was he able to decide? Like, was he a manager? Like, how was he able to get access to that particular plane?
I think he was pretty high up, one of the higher ups there.
Right.
I don't know. I never like plugged his brain about it. You know, I just was like, you know, for me, in my life, like the less questions I ask, the better. Some things I don't need to know. Yeah. But I imagine that was I think he was one of the higher ups, so he can manipulate. And I know he had a couple guys, because they have actually wound up getting arrested with all of us in the end. Right. We'll get to that later. But
so, and he had a couple people with Gate Gourmet working with him. Yeah,
he wasn't a solo act there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So he's kind of got he's got an in. Yes. Wayno's got an in at this point. Right. Has he already been moving product from the States or South America, or has he just been retailing it, getting it from somebody else?
A bit of both. He had a guy, and when I first met him, when I first went to visit him in Australia, he was actually out on bail for an import that he had really nothing to do with. Somebody kind of freelancing got caught bringing a kilo of cocaine into Australia, tried to set Wayne up for take the fall with them, and Wayne actually went to trial on it and got found not guilty.
And beat it. Wow.
Beat it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
So he's already moving. He's already kind of on the radar. This is a life that he's about. Right. So you guys make that connection. Right. There's that kinship there.
Yes.
When is the first time you actually made a move, and how did you decide, like, let's go for it?
What happened? He got found not guilty, And that was in 97. You know, I first went there in 96. And then I came back again in 97, and he was on, this is when his trial was going on.
Yeah.
And he got found not guilty. We celebrated by going on a trip to Bali. And next thing you know, less than a year after that trip, 8 months later, he was flying over to Ventura.
Gotcha.
And, you know, he told me about, you know, the airport, his uncle at the airport, and then we could do this and we can get it in. So I had some money saved.
Right. From your dealings.
Yeah. From my different things. And
so at this point, 97, 98, are you still moving coke up to Chico?
No,
or what's your hustle look like?
Jesse had dropped out of school by that time.
I can't imagine how that would have happened. Coke dealer at Chico.
Yeah.
The biggest party school in North America.
Yeah, he had dropped out. And actually, to be honest, I started working. My dad got me a job in the studios.
Okay.
And so I saw that my brother had already been working there, and I saw the paychecks he was bringing in. And, I was like, you know, I want some of that, you know? And so I started working in the studios as a grip.
Right.
And I was bringing home like $1,800 a week. You know, I was killing myself doing it. And I was not happy.
It's brutal.
I was not happy, but the money kept me coming back. So and
did you still have your coke hustle on the side, or did you leave that alone?
I didn't have time for anything like that.
Yeah.
I was working, you know, 14 hours a day, sometimes 6 days a week. And I was like, you know, first time I really was making legit money. I had a job at Pizza Hut in high school, but this was like kind of like a brief time in my life where I was like legit. Yeah. And so Wayne flew over, and I had a bit of money saved. He didn't have that much money. He spent a lot, you know, all his money, his lawyers and that, and his trial. And he told me about the possibility of what was going on. And I had money, and he was willing.
And you still had your connects to purchase coke?
Yes.
Gotcha. And who was that at the time? Was that your friend who's deceased now, or did you have a different connect?
Different guy. I don't want to say his name. He was a surfer guy, an older surfer from the beach.
Gotcha. But it sounds like, because you were, you eventually were buying multiple kilos. Yeah. Sounds like you were pretty locked in because you were getting it at a good price.
I knew guys. Yeah. And so, but at this time I just sourced it from one of the older surfer guys from the beach. And he,
did your connects change? Did you?
It definitely changed after in the years coming later. It definitely changed.
But for now you're getting it. I think
the first time the first kilo was $15,000.
That is dirt cheap. I mean, that is literally in 20 years, 5 years, it's gone up more than twice that. Yeah. Like a wholesale kilo now from a Mexican in LA I would assume would cost you close to 30. Yeah. And that's when you're getting it straight from the guy who just got it over the border. Right. So wholesaled, I mean, for good quality coke, probably it's $40,000. Yeah. And I can't imagine what my buddy got it for, because I'm sure he wanted to make some money off it, but $15,000. Yeah. It cost. And this would have been in 98. Yeah. And I funded that. Now, are you buying the bricks up front, or are you getting it? Are you putting half down and then bringing the rest to them later? That one, no, definitely the money was up front. Yeah. Definitely. Okay. I never wanted to get fronted. You never wanted to be in debt. Especially years later when we were dealing with this serious stuff. Yeah. I never, because if something went wrong, I didn't want to be in debt. Of course. And I only wanted what I could pay for. Yeah. With these guys. I was the same way. But yeah, $15,000. I funded it. Wayne carried it. Okay. So tell us about the first run. This is the test run. This is where, I flew down to Australia first. I was in Australia. Wayne was still back here, and he got in the cocaine, and I waited for him. I was staying at his house. Why? So you connected him with your guy? Yeah. And Wayne knew him himself. Because like I said, Wayne had been coming to Ventura for a number of years, came, and he knew the guy as well. At the time, the reason I flew down to Australia first was I had a girlfriend there at the time. Okay. And so I went down there. I flew down there first because I think she was missing me. I was giving me shit for being gone. So I trusted Wayne with the money, trusted him to do what was right.
and I flew down first. I left the money for a full brick, and a few weeks later, he flew down there, and it went, smooth as silk.
Okay, how you got to tell us how did he do it?
All right, so
I know this is pre 9/11.
This is not pre 9/11.
You probably could not do this now.
Oh,
yeah, you might be able to, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe if you had TSA pre-check.
You could do it. We were doing it post 9/11.
Right.
We were doing it a few months after 9/11.
Yeah, well, they hadn't caught up yet, though. I feel like with X-ray now. But anyways, we'll let them decide.
Wayne strapped the cocaine to his body. It was always a United flight that left LAX on Friday night.
Where did he strap it?
On his stomach.
Yeah.
And it lands in Sydney on Sunday morning. So it's good. Australia's a day ahead.
Yeah.
Basically, it's an international dateline. So it always landed. It was always, I'm pretty sure the reason that we picked that flight had more to do with our connection at the airport.
Right.
You got to get on this plane.
That's right. That makes sense. So the people, Wayno's uncle, in working for Gate Gourmet in the Sydney airport, would he give him the flight that he should take?
Yeah.
That makes sense. So he knows he knows what his schedule is, the following week. And he says, hey, I'm going to be taking this, I'm going to be refilling the United food trays on this day. You're going to want to take this flight so I can be on there. Boom.
So it was always
should have been a detective. Okay.
But it always landed on Sunday morning at Sydney at about 6 o'clock in the morning. I think it's one of the first flights of the day. And cause Sydney airport closes, there's no flights from like 10 at night till 6 in the morning. Cause it's anyways. So it's always the first flight of the day, one of the first. And so they were able to pounce on it, you know, the Gate Gourmet guys.
Of course.
They're on the plane. So he has it strapped to his body. And at some point during the flight, you want to do it usually probably towards the end of the flight. It's 14 hours.
Yeah.
Usually in the last hour or two of the flight, you want to go to a designated bathroom in the back of the plane, unstrap it from your body, stick it in the trash can. Well, you want to go into the trash can.
Yeah.
You want to.
By now, there's a lot of trash after 14 hours.
Oh, yeah. There's the dirty diapers, tampons, the whole lot in there. And
fetuses.
Yeah, whatever. Lots of stuff. Snot rags.
Yeah.
And you got to get dirty. The trash bin is kind of behind a little locked door, and you throw the trash in the top, but the bin is inside, and you open the little latch door.
Yeah.
And you pull the little bin out and you pull everything out of there.
Yeah.
You're getting dirty. And you take the unstrapped cocaine, place it at the bottom of the bin, and you take all that trash, the dirty diapers, the tampons, and everything else, and you throw it all on top of it. And you place it back, close the latch, and boom, you walk out of there. Your job's done. And now the plane lands in Sydney. And it as soon as
because you don't have to go through I'm just trying to get a sense of why they would do that. You don't have to go through customs on this side.
On this side in LA.
Correct.
No, you just went through security.
Right.
And we always tell the guys, no jewelry, no belt.
Right.
I don't care if your grandma gave you that necklace and it's your lucky necklace.
Because you cannot have that thing go off and have them risk you, pat you down, wand you down.
Man.
Yeah,
you take that earring off, dude. I don't care if it's your lucky ear.
Exactly.
It's coming off, dude.
And so then when he walks through, when Wayno or whoever's bringing it on the other side, they walk through Australian customs free and clear.
Free and clear.
Yeah.
And the Gate Gourmet guys, the food catering guys, they're the first on the plane. They got to get those trolleys off,
Right.
And so when they get on the plane, they come in through the back door, and
even more than they're first, even before the trash people.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And so they're on the plane. They made it a point to get on there before. For sure. They don't need some guy, airplane maid finding it before them.
Right.
So they get on the plane. The plane lands in Sydney. These guys are on the plane, and they're one of them is their job's not to go into the bathroom. Their job is to get the food trolleys off. So one of them, I think, is the lookout, maybe a block. Yeah. And one's going in.
So it's why multiple people are in on it.
Yeah. Going into that trash can, grabbing the Coke, stashing it into a food trolley that they're already removing from the plane.
Right.
And it comes right off.
Wow.
And that cocaine is off the plane before you are. You're probably still maybe even grabbing your bags out of the overhead.
Did in the process of this, was there ever a time where the kilo made it into the garbage, everything was fine, but something got fucked up, like the maids or the cleaning people got to the trash bag before the Gate Gourmet people?
I'll tell you a story. The first time I carried, that happened to me. I carried, it was maybe 6 months or a year after Wayne had done the initial run.
Yeah.
And I carried, I went through the same process, went through, sourced the cocaine here. Yeah. Wayne and I remember, I think we were still kind of small time then. We both went halves on it on a kilo of cocaine. And I strapped it to my body, went to LAX, went through security, the whole thing, went through the whole process, dropped it in the trash can.
Yeah.
I thought everything was good. I walk out, go through customs, immigration, and waiting at the house, at Wayne's house. We're waiting for a phone call, and it was like a panic. There was a panicked phone call, like, what the fuck, what's going on? And Wayne's looking at me, he gets a phone, like, they can't find it. We never really figured out what happened. Mm-hmm. Was it the maids that got on, or I was shitting bricks.
Because you thought it might be feds. Thought it could have been.
Man, I was ready to jump on a plane that same day and get the fuck out of the country.
And that was your first time carrying?
That was my first time carrying. Boy. The first time Wayne, when I carried the first time I carried, and and I was like, what the fuck? I was shitting bricks. I didn't know if the cops got it. We didn't know. We just did not know.
Yeah. I guess, when a key only costs $15,000, it's not a huge loss, but it's a huge loss of your time and effort and this risk you took.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So you never got that. You never got that. You never found it.
Still to this day, don't know what happened to it.
Do you think, I mean, I know they're supposed to tell you when you get arrested in the discovery paperwork,
right?
All the evidence they collected over the years, but a lot of times they leave shit out. They lied on my paperwork.
Right.
But do you think that was part of a larger investigation?
No, I don't think so. I think they would have grabbed us.
Probably
and they would have made the paper, and the Gate Gourmet guys, because we asked them, like, his Wayne's uncle Craig, like, did the cops go? He would have known if the cops got their hands on it.
Yeah, because they would have been all over the plane.
Yeah, he would have known. Like, okay, something's going down.
It probably got thrown away, man. Somebody, they just beat you. They just the cleaning people just beat the Gate Gourmet guys to the punch.
Yeah, and maybe one of them came up big time.
Yeah, who knows? Probably not. More than likely, they just said, "Whoa, it's kind of heavy," and they twisted it. And you don't go through the garbage when you're cleaning. You know. Wow. Okay. So back to the first time Wayno does get the key through. Yes. He gets the brick through. You're already there with your chick. Successful run. What do you do with it? Do you break it down, or you just give it to somebody wholesale?
At that time, Wayne, I want to say it got broken down into ounces and 8
Did you help him?
No, I let him take care of that. In Australia, I tried to be super undercover. I mean, my whole life, I always tried to be very undercover, not let anybody, I let him handle all that. Yeah. I maybe helped him like break it down in ounces, but in terms of selling it and
you didn't, no. He had the whole market anyways. He knew everybody.
Yeah, I was hands off of that part of it.
But did you wait with him down there until the kilo sold?
I believe so. I think it took a little while because he just, like I said, just gotten found not guilty on an import.
Yeah.
Not that long. So he wasn't trying. He was trying to be pretty low key himself, so he took his time. I don't think I maybe stayed the whole time. God, it was so long ago.
So how much did he end up turning the kilo around for? You guys bought it for 15 grand.
I want to say at that time, probably 180,000 Australian dollars or so.
That's a pretty good margin.
Yeah. And this is like in 90, I think that was in 98.
Yeah. 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 Wow. I mean, look at that. That's like, do the math on that. That's like 8 kilos worth You know what I mean?
Right,
Like you could
right.
buy, so you could take and reinvest and go back to your Connect and,
Yeah.
and buy a whole load of bricks if you
Right,
wanted.
right.
Holy shit. Okay. So now tell us of what you do with that money. How does your cut get back to you? I assume you guys are splitting all the profits, right?
Yeah.
You're partners in it.
Right. Well, we have to pay the guys at the airport.
Okay.
I think I want to say they wanted like 20,000.
They each wanted 20?
No, I think that was just their price.
20 total.
20 total
Oh,
per
not bad.
kilo, per kilo.
Yeah,
so how it
gotcha.
got divided up between like 2 or 3 guys
was their business.
That was, didn't know exactly how they did that.
That's a good, I mean, I would have charged you guys triple.
Yeah.
Knowing what you could make on a kilo.
Oh yeah.
Those guys
sure.
are huge necessary part in it.
Right.
So that's a pretty good price. So, you guys are dividing up after paying for the kilo and for the workers. You guys are splitting up $145,000.
Right.
Australian.
Right.
So how does he get, 70,000? How does he get that to you?
I think he, like I said, I didn't maybe stay till the whole thing was sold. I maybe stayed till he had at least my half of the money.
Yeah.
And he just gave me cash, Australian dollars, and yeah.
How do you get 70 grand?
So
do you know how sketchy? No. How do you move $70,000? How do you physically move it from Australia to the United States?
Okay. Well, that
the most important part of the equation here.
The cash. Okay. So in the beginning, with that cash, I would go into the city of Sydney and like the downtown. There was an area called Martin Place where it was kind of a touristy area, and there's currency exchanges all around there. And I would go to a currency exchange with like 7,000 Australian dollars, and I would exchange it for US dollars. I'd buy US dollars with it. And I'd ask for like all hundreds because I don't need, the smaller denomination, the more bulk. Yeah. So it was always like in $100 bills. I want 100 US dollar bills, and $10,000, or even like 70, say, I get like $10,000 stacks.
Yeah. So you could just smuggle that back.
Yeah. It's really not that big, it's maybe,
Yeah. If you have 7 stacks, no, you'd need 70, 100 stacks, but it's not overly bulky. I guess you put it, so you could just stash it in your carry-on, not your carry-on, your check bag.
I'd have it strapped to my leg, to my thighs.
And this is before the metal strip was on the 100.
Probably.
This is before the metallic strip, definitely. So, okay. So you could just walk through the metal detector.
I'd walk right through it. And,
wow.
And I wasn't that worried about it coming back from Australia, getting caught with the money, because I know that having traveled a lot, nothing really comes from Australia. Like when I landed at LAX, nothing's really like, when customs and that are... Especially back then, they're not really looking out for smugglers coming from Australia. No. It's not like you're flying up from Colombia. Exactly, and their resource, I'm sure the customs and guys, they're stretched so thin as it is, Yeah. In a flight, you got 10 flights landing at the same time, and one of them's from Australia, and then you got 3 from Mexico and 6. Where are you going to put all your resources? You're going to put them on the flights that just landed from Mexico or Colombia, Venezuela. We got a flight from Australia. Okay, they're fine. Now, I do feel like this you absolutely could not do now, because you got to go through X-ray scanners. So I feel like you'd have to put it in your luggage, your checked bag. Probably, yes. Yeah. Interest, but there's ways to get around it, right? You put, there's tricks to disguising the metallic strip. Right. Because by the end of my journey and, shipping out weed, and I would get money sent back to me. Right. I started having my people, disguise the strip in the packages so it wouldn't get hit by the X-rays. Right. But yeah, okay. So that makes sense. So you're at smooth sailing, flying back with the cash. Right. Now what are you thinking? Now are you like, ooh, this is it. This is our lick. Or do you like, when does it really start to move? When do you get a system down? Well, the system was in place.
Yeah.
So it was still,
I guess consistency. When does it really start become like a well-oiled
okay. So
thing?
had a friend that was connected. It was my co-defendant, Wayne. He got caught with a gun not long after, like somewhere in like 98, 99. So
Wayne's just a wild boy.
Oh, he's a wild one.
Wayne's,
he's an outlaw.
He doesn't sound like the most careful criminal.
No, I wouldn't say that. He's careful, but he's probably, I would just say he's not as casual as, say, maybe I am.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to put some photos up of him. Does he look like an outlaw? Does he look like
not at all. He's got a baby face,
right.
got clean cut looking guy like me. And
he got caught with a pistol down in Australia.
Yeah, which is very serious business.
Sure.
Very serious business in Australia. They don't take kindly to guns at all. At all. So he had that business. So we kind of put business on hold while he was dealing with that.
Well, he fought that case.
He fought that case, got found guilty, didn't serve any jail time.
They didn't find him with any drugs on him.
No.
Okay, good.
No. So that case happened, and that took like another year out of what we were doing.
Well, was that first lick? Was that first run enough money to float you until the next time you did it?
Oh, definitely, because I wasn't buying like a brand new Audis and stuff. It was all about the
but you got to quit your job at the movie studio. You didn't have to work at the grip anymore.
I did work a little bit, because I wasn't sure what was going to happen while we were on hold. So I still worked a bit, but I had that cash, I still had that cash, and I was still traveling. I was still going to Indonesia, to South America.
Were you excited?
Trips. Oh, I was excited.
That money must have just juiced you, right?
Definitely. Gives it's a definite high.
Yeah, it's like physically an endorphin rush. Like getting off the plane in LA, walking through customs. I mean, fucking just try to put it into words.
Yeah.
Like you're skipping. You can't even.
Oh, definitely.
It feels like winning the lottery in a way.
Oh, definitely.
That's what my experience, making tons of money really quickly. I had no business ever ascending as high in the drug game as I did. I just got lucky.
Right.
I through years of basically nickel and diming, I met the right plugs that got me wholesale weed for, a really competitive price.
Right.
But then I met guys, I met my Wayno.
Right.
Over on the East Coast. And this is when you could sell a brick for double what you paid for it in Oregon. So, it was just, and it was just the right historical time.
Right.
I knew all of this. So when I would open up a package that I got FedEx overnighted to me and $50,000 would fall out of it, it was like, it was Christmas in July, it was like, I couldn't believe it. My good fortune.
Oh, definitely.
Is that kind of how you felt?
Oh, definitely, dude. Like definitely adrenaline, the hair standing up on the back of your neck, and you get the sweaty palms, and you're just like, fuck, this is real, know? And
but you're thinking like, well, now I can go surf for 6 months. Like that's
definitely going to now. Okay, well, where am I going? Where am I going? I'm going to Indonesia. I fell in love with that country the first time I went. And we're going to Indonesia and going to all the different islands. We're partying it up.
Partying. Are you using coke?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Nice.
Definitely,
so you're partying, you're having fun.
Yeah. Like I remember talking to a friend at the time, and he's like, what's the difference between us and rock stars,
Yeah.
And we were chasing chicks.
Yeah.
It was the drugs and surfing. I mean, without the, take out the rock and roll, it was just surfing.
Yeah.
Without the music, it was surfing,
Yeah, you guys.
But it was definitely a rock and roll lifestyle.
Totally. And you're just like, go, go, go. It doesn't matter. You probably wake up at 5 a.m. even after a night of just doing blow and drinking.
If I woke up, what do you mean wake up? I've been up all night.
Wow, that's wild. So you would just go straight to the surf.
Yeah, usually we try. If the waves were on, we were on.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's a movie, man.
It was a crazy lifestyle.
So you got about a year waiting for Wayno's pistol charge to adjudicate.
Yes.
After that, now what happens?
Well, I'll tell you one funny story. I think it was during that time while Wayne was out on bail and he was fighting his case. I was in Australia at one time, and I came up, it was like another crime of little opportunity.
Yeah.
I didn't need the money, but it was kind of like, you know, when I look back on my, the food stamp little thing we had going in high school. And a friend of mine in Australia had come into a big load of hash.
Wow.
And like a big load. And
where does the hash come from?
I think it was like from Pakistan or something like that.
And then it probably makes its way down to India. And then
it was the brown. It was the brown, like clay, like hash.
Yeah.
And so he really needed money at the time. He sold me two 9-ounce bars of hash. Sold it to me for 400 Australian dollars total, 200 for each one.
Wow. And how much can you sell those for?
Well, so I got those, and the only reason I got them was I was like, fuck, this is too good to pass up. And I thought that we never get this kind of hash in Southern California.
Fuck, here we go.
And I strapped it to, I remember I put them on my calves.
Okay.
I strapped it to the inside of my calves, and I put some pants on, and I got on a flight and I flew back to LA. And it was funny, you know what? That was one of the closest times I ever came to getting pinched. I flew into LA, and these customs guys, I was just walking out. I was just about to get out, and they stopped me. It was two black guys, and one of them says, "Where you coming from?" I said, "I'm from coming from Australia." And I think the other guy was in training or something. He was training the other guys. "Oh, we got to take a look at your bag." And cause it looked like one guy was like kind of telling them, "Okay, this is what you do. We got to look at this."
Sure.
And I'm going, fuck, I got two nuts. And they were asking me about Australia and this and that. And I said, yeah, and you know, what was I doing there? Surfing.
How do you keep your cool? Are you losing your, like, are you getting cotton mouth?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. I was getting a little nervous. I was like going, oh shit. You know, fucking with all I've done, fuck, this would be fucked to get busted with just trying to bring back a couple
hash, which nobody even like smokes in America. Yeah. Which is such a weird thing. I feel like you might even get off on that because they'd be like, what the fuck is this that you got on your calves? Right. You know, they'd probably think it was heroin or something.
Right. You know, but in bringing it back, you know, not many people smoke it, but I knew enough people.
You could get it off. No. Because it's such a novelty. You
exactly.
How much could you, well, we'll get to that. But,
well, I knew enough friends of mine that had like, you know, guys who went to college and they did a summer in Europe and they were talking about, oh, I was smoking hash in, you know, Amsterdam and this and that, you know, and I was like, these are the guys I'm going to sell it to when I get back, you know, it's going to remind them of their summer vacation in Europe. So anyways, so talking to these guys, when I got pulled there at the airport, I remember they were just finishing up. They looked through my bags a little bit, nothing major. And as I'm walking away, I got, you know, they said, "Oh, you're free to go." And I'm walking away. And I always remember this. I'm about 5 steps away. And the guy, and I heard that one of those customs guys goes, "Yo, Ryan, one more thing." And my heart stopped. And I'm going, fuck, they're going to pat me down. And my heart stopped. And I turned around and I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, those girls hang with their titties out on the beach in Australia." Wow. And I started laughing.
That's the blackest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. And I started laughing. I go, "Yeah, you see some of that." And they're like, "All right, man, take it easy." And I walked away and I went, fuck. Whoa. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck? I always remember that. That was so funny.
God damn. So, yeah, that's nerve wracking. So what did you make off that deal?
I remember the first, I was selling it for like regular high grade pop prices that you get. So I was selling like for $300 an ounce, US dollars an ounce at the time.
So you got a half a key. I don't know. You made a couple $1,000.
Yeah, I made some money, you know, and it was more like it was an opportunity. I saw it, and I didn't need the money. It was funny when I look back on it now. It was like it was part of that action that I was addicted to.
You're craving the action.
Yeah, I loved the action of the whole that whole scene, the whole industry. I guess you know it was a lifestyle.
Yeah. Did you consider was drug dealer part of your identity? Or were you a surfer?
I was a surfer. Yeah. 100% surfer first, you know, drug dealing. It was just something that I did. It was always just when I saw the opportunity and it was there, I would jump on it. You know,
Did you have any long-term plans once you really started moving keys down to Australia and money's, consistently big time money is coming in? Did you have any plans to like invest it, or did you have a number to where you were like, okay, I get this much, I'm getting out of the game?
I definitely had those thoughts, like, the smart thing to do would be buy a house, especially at that time. I beat my head against the wall sometimes today when I go, I could have owned a couple homes, if I would have invested my money right. One of my best friends at the time, I remember he managed money. He was worked at Merrill Lynch, and I was like, man, I should go to him and show him what I got, and he'll help me. But you know what, I tried to. I had thoughts of looking at my long term, but at the same time, I couldn't see past next week. You know, it was like, well, you know what, I'll get to that next year. Because next week I'm flying to Chile, and I'm going on a surf trip down there.
You're living fast.
Yeah. And
you're living
the
fast,
money,
you're having too much fun.
And during this time, I also, having lived and spent a lot of time in Australia, I developed a taste for the horse races.
No shit.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm betting on horses and stuff,
That's some drug dealer shit. That's some kingpin shit. I like that.
In Australia, the horse racing it's huge.
Did you come up at all? Did you ever hit
every
big?
once in a while, but definitely lost way more than I ever lost. Yeah, I'll never be one of those gamblers that said, "Oh yeah," I definitely will admit that the losses definitely outweighed the wins when it came to gambling. I loved my blackjack in Vegas, and and I was definitely funding a lifestyle of gambling.
Travel, surfing, women.
Yeah, women, strip clubs and all that sort of stuff.
That's your life. I should have lived like that. I should have had more fun with my drug money.
Yeah.
I was the opposite. I was like, from pretty much the first 100,000 I ever made, I was like, okay, there's no way this can last.
Right.
Let me figure out how to turn this into an empire so I never have to work again. It was my Joseph Kennedy moment. How can my sons and daughters be congressmen?
Right.
Senator Corleone, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But certainly didn't have as much fun as you. Now tell us when the business started to scale.
Okay. So I always remember this, 9/11 happened, and we were actually going to get a run going. My co-defendant, Wayne, and, this other guy, I don't want to mention his name. They both flew into LAX on the morning
on the big one
on the morning of 9/11.
Wow!
So we had a run planned around that time,
right?
And they both flew in, and on the morning of 9/11, and it was chaos. Like you remember, it was, and we canceled that trip. We didn't know how this was going to affect security on our end, on the Australian end. I think flights were shut down for a few days in the States at that time. And then even when it reopened, we just weren't sure. We contacted our guy down in Australia, and he was like, no, the Kate Gourmet guy. And he was like, no,
let's leave it alone till we see how things shake out.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Safety was a big thing with us. We always wanted to be safe. We love the adrenaline, the risk, the action, but we weren't stupid. We didn't take unnecessary risks.
Right. Yes, that's true. I can tell that. Okay. So you guys were patient. You would wait.
We were patient. That was 9/11. We waited about 6 months. In 2002, after doing, I was in contact with Wayne. He's asking me, I'll do a little reconnaissance at the airport. I think I maybe have been on a flight or two during that time and said, hey, dude, it's not that bad. Dude.
Yeah.
Just, don't wear any fucking metal when you're going through that. And I think I did. I know for a fact I did once purposely like leave my belt on
just to see what it would look like.
What are they going to do? And it was an automatic pat down.
Yeah.
So, okay. So just absolutely nothing.
Right.
Don't wear any fancy shoes. I got a little metal, the fancy dress shoes. I got a metal bar going through the middle of it. But I think anyway, so I did a little reconnaissance on our end, you can get through, it's definitely can still be done. It relaxed down in Sydney as well at the airport. And so it's in like mid 2002, Wayne flew over, but he had some guys with him to carry, now at this point, we don't really need to carry anymore.
Yes. We've stepped it up. You got workers.
We got guys, we can, Wayne flew over with them. He was kind of coaching them and so
these are surfers as well.
Yeah, we tried to mostly keep it to surfers. Surfers. That was our friendship circle, and the people we knew were surfers mostly.
There's a brotherhood too with being a surfer,
definitely,
right?
Definitely.
So you kind of feels you can trust.
Yeah, we're comfortable around each other, and so they flew over, and I think on that trip, I want to say that we got 2.5 kilos. Put like 1.25, say, on each guy.
Right.
And Wayne didn't carry. It was just two guys. And we put him on a plane back to Australia.
Now, how much are you paying for keys now, post 9/11?
Okay, now post 9/11, it was $18,000.
Okay,
definitely.
So kilo's gone up.
Yeah, it's gone up a few $1,000s.
And who are you getting it from? Who are you sourcing them from?
Now I'm sourcing it from a Mexican. I'm definitely not going to say his name.
You don't even know his name. He's got 5 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Who I was introduced to through a friend.
Gotcha.
And those first few trips to see this guy, my friend came with me until this guy got comfortable with me.
Right.
But I always looked after that friend that made the introduction.
Right.
I never started seeing him. He just didn't want to go on the trips to go pick it up anymore. He got a little haired out. But when I did, I always made sure he got some money.
Where's the Mexican guy? He's in Ventura. He's local.
He's in Ventura County. I'll just say Ventura County.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too specific.
Right, but he's up there.
Yeah.
No, I know they have a lot of, they got guys moving up there for sure. There's a market for meth and fentanyl now.
Oh, definitely.
And so wherever that is in America, you will find Mexicans who are connected. Doesn't mean they're part of the cartel,
right?
But they are connected directly to cartel members that are getting it across the border.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So you're getting it from, you're about as high up as you can go as a white boy,
right?
Buying coke in America. So this is good.
Right.
So the quality is good.
The quality was off the hook.
Yeah.
Like, the quality was when I first was sourcing them from this surfer guy, older surfer guy at the beach, it was kind of mid quality, you know? But definitely when I was getting it from this Mexican guy in Ventura County, it was like nothing.
It didn't taste like he was stepping on it.
No. It was like coming, like it was straight, came out of the tomato truck that came across the border.
For sure.
Know?
So, and you guys weren't stepping on it either.
No, it didn't get stepped on until it got to Australia.
Right. And then, you probably could have cut it over here, but you just get more for your money. You just,
and there was no reason. It was always going to end up in Australia. So
anyways, why make it bulkier?
Why make it bulkier and more to carry here in America when
totally
just get it to Australia. That was the mission.
So were you guys in like a bathroom with these two surfer bros, deciding where to place the kilos on them?
Okay. So what we do, when we get the kilos, it's like this big, whatever, and about like that thick, you know, and we'd break them down. We pull them out, take them out. We weren't just putting straight blocks on them, we take them out and I'd lay a tarp down in my living room and get big baking pans. And I would break this stuff down, and I get like a rolling pin and I'm breaking it down, not into a powder, but just small chunks, like little rocks. And go to Target, get a food saver.
Yeah.
The food saver, the vacuum sealer.
Totally. I know it well.
Yeah. And So, and we would vacuum seal it,
Yeah.
you know, and we'd vacuum.
And you could take a whole brick, you take a whole ass brick and condense it to, you know, smaller than like a NFL football.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we would try and have it stretched out as thin as possible.
Right.
And so I'd have it like stretched out to like this big, but like that.
Oh, interesting. So wide.
Yeah.
And thin.
Yeah. And we could tape it and wrap it around your body so it conformed to your stomach.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Smart.
And so that's how we did that. And we would strap, you know, guys, it was funny, you know, everybody's body type is different. You know, some guy might be kind of tall and lanky, but have kind of a beer gut.
Yeah.
You know, and so we would figure it out, you know, we would usually pack about, I'd say like some guys, I saw a couple guys could get like 2.5 on them.
Onto their body. What kind of body type could fit 2.5 kilos inconspicuously?
I'd say like kind of a taller, skinnier guy.
Oh, so I'd be a nice drug mule.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, dude. Like, so we strap to their body and I'd get like that white medical tape and I would just tape it around their body. And, but yeah, usually about 2 kilos.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2.5, but that was push. I never put 3 on somebody. But yeah.
Wow, this is the real deal. This is drug smuggling.
This is definitely drug smuggling. Yeah. And it was that whole action of all that was all definitely adrenaline. It was crazy, you know, that
it must have dawned on you in the middle of doing all that. You're like, whoa, you did it every now and then. You're like, damn, I'm in it.
Oh yeah, definitely, you know, and it was definitely an adrenaline rush. The action of it, you know, of knowing, like, you know, I always prepped it the day they were leaving, you know, that day, like that afternoon, you know, we're leaving Ventura at like 7:30 at night to drive to LAX.
But you guys are taking the evening flight.
Yeah. So,
United still?
Always United.
Okay.
Always United.
Gotcha.
But I'm prepping it during that day. The couriers, they're out, like I got them. They're like at the beach. I'm like, I don't want them anywhere around it.
Right.
You know, I don't need it getting on their clothes.
Right.
Whatever.
Of course.
I'm taking care of it.
Yeah.
You know.
And how did you make sure that they relaxed? Like, was there a psychological trick or?
You know, I was always told them, you know, I wasn't one of these guys. I hear these horror stories that when guys sign up to do this stuff, that their families are threatened and if they back out of it and this and that.
Or it's like a broad, it's some like 19-year-old chick. And, you know, some guy from Spain is like, you're just going to carry 2 of them. And then she looks down and she's got 16 strapped to her body.
I was always up front with these guys, you know, I was like, you know, I remember telling guys, you know, like if your heart's not in it, like if this is too much for you, there's no shame in backing out.
Yeah.
You know, cause
did you let them know like, hey, look, I've done this?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I said, dude, I've done it, dude. I would never ask anybody to do anything I didn't do myself. And Wayne was the same way.
Right.
You know?
Okay. So you send you drive those 2 kids. How old are they? Are they younger than you?
On that trip? No, I think they were probably a little older than me.
Okay.
They were, and we drove them to the airport, LAX. The rundown. This is what we do.
Yeah. Don't
vary from it even a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't all of a sudden come up with a good idea mid-flight.
Yeah.
You know, this is a try and true technique. And it works. If you just follow these steps, your only job is to get through. The hardest part of your job is
walking through security.
Walking through security at LAX. And once you're past there, and once you're sitting on the plane, you are home free.
Yeah.
You are home free. And all you got to do is drop it in the trash can 2 hours before the flight lands in Sydney.
Okay. So
it's done.
2.5 bricks just got through to Australia. What's the wholesale price now in 2002?
Okay. So
price must have gone up there.
Yeah, definitely gone up. Okay. It's like 300,000 Australian dollars.
That's wholesale?
That's like wholesale. I think, by that time it's like a brick is 300,000 Australian dollars. Wow.
So a gram is going for 400.
Yeah.
You can turn
at that time, you know, something like that. $300, but they're stepping on it so much. They're turning 1 kilo into 2 or 3 down there, you know?
Okay.
And so you could charge 300 for a wholesale.
Because you know he's going to turn around
Yeah,
and
you
make
can still make a
two out
lot
of
of
them.
money.
Wow.
You make a lot of money down there. But I never got involved in that part of it. You know, I never got in part of I just know, you know, that's what they were going for. And this is what I was going to get paid for doing this. Cause you know, like we send 2 or 3 kilos down there, you know, say 3
kilos get in. Tell us how that then got distributed.
See, like I said, that
Would Wayno be waiting on the other side, or would he always come up with the couriers?
He eventually just stayed down there. He trusted me enough,
right,
to take care of everything here.
Gotcha.
You know, I was like, I don't know, kind of a logistics guy here in Southern California. You know, I was sourcing it. I was prepping it and getting it all ready to go.
Yeah.
And he would receive it on that end. And how he exactly distributed, I don't know. I know that he had guys that would buy whole kilos off him. Other guys that might just buy a half.
So what would, if you bought 3 kilos on this end in Ventura at 18,000 a shot, what would come back to you?
Okay, after expenses, after paying like the guys to carry, they're getting like 10,000 Australian dollars
to carry. Gotcha.
They're usually always Australians.
Yeah.
And they were getting 10,000 a kilo to carry. So if they carried 2.5, they would get $25,000.
Okay.
Australian dollars to carry.
Could you ever get 2 guys? Could you ever get as much as 5 kilos down there? 2.5 on each person.
Yeah, we definitely did that.
Oh, so you got as much as 5 bricks.
But on that first trip, that after 9/11, I think we had 2.5 kilos, and each guy carried like 1.5 or 1.25 each, or whatever it was.
Okay, but on when you got up to as high as 5 kilos a trip.
Oh yeah, we're definitely putting.
That's enormous. That's $1.5 million.
Yes.
In Australia.
Yes,
that's insane. Okay, so tell me the profit margin. This is what we do on the Connect. We break down the numbers.
So say 300,000. So for each kilo. For my end,
did you ever get, when you went to your Mexican Connect, when you went, you said, "Hey, I want 5." Did he give you a price break, or did it all always stay the same?
It was always the same. I think I talked to him once, and he said you're gonna have to get at least like 10 before we start talking price break.
Makes sense. I'm doing math right now.
Okay,
so keep talking.
So yeah, you're talking $300,000 Australian dollars. You're paying the guys. I think the Gate Gourmets guys charged like $25,000 to take it off the plane.
And then let's see, they're getting to carry 2.5 is 25,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so assuming that you paid each courier, you had 2 of them, 25 G's plus 20 to the Gate Gourmet guys. Plus the re-up of 5 kilos is $90,000. That's 18 a kilo.
Right.
That's $165,000 investment.
Right.
To get 5 down there.
Right.
What do you bring back?
Okay, so after expenses, you know, like we got to fly these guys over. We're putting them up in hotels. We're giving them like a per diem for the week. Right. You know?
you guys are corporate at this point.
Yeah, you know, we want them to enjoy their time in America, you know.
And that's how you make it look to anybody that's from customs. You make it look legit.
Yeah, we want them to have a good time here. Not too good of a time. We didn't want them to be partying and doing coke so that the day they're supposed to fly out, they're paranoid and they're all sweating and whatever. So on my end, I was probably, and then you got to figure out the exchange rate and that. So when I'm converting it to US dollars.
You're dealing in Australian dollars, obviously.
Yeah, there. But
that's interesting.
But I got to bring it home.
Yeah.
And I got to turn it into US dollars. And depending on the exchange rate, after all is said and done, I'll just say a nice round number that I was bringing home per kilo was about $200,000.
Per kilo?
Yeah, US dollars.
Oh, this is oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is not good for me. It's like an alcoholic hearing about how much fun drinking was. It makes me want to start a little op. Fuck this podcast. What are we doing, Brian? Holy shit. So you're made, so, 200. Yeah. So you could make, did you make 400,000? Did you off of one run?
It happened. It happened, we would break it. We started bringing in guys that were loyal, that carried, more than once, we started bringing them in, and out of those 5 kilos, he might get,
keep one.
He might be able to keep one.
Yeah.
Or 1.5,
right. So would that be in lieu of payment? Like instead of getting paid for the run, just keep a kilo.
Yeah, you're getting a kilo.
Which is actually better for them.
Yeah, and these guys were loyal and they were cool, and we weren't greedy. We weren't like greedy for everything.
Right.
We looked after each other.
Okay, so this is incredible, though. I mean, you do that 3 times a year. You're millionaires.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow, easily.
Yes.
Okay, so how long does it take you? So now, just say you've got is Australian dollars? Are they more expensive than US?
No, there was
what
definitely.
What was the exchange rate?
So at the time, it would fluctuate. At the time, I'd say about $1 US or $1 Australian dollar would buy you like 80 cents Australian. So you're going to lose like 20%.
So you're going to lose about 20%.
20%.
Gotcha. Okay, so say you made $500,000 Australian dollars. You got 400 American, 400 in cash.
Roughly.
That's a huge amount of money.
Right.
Yeah, even in hundreds. I mean, it's going to be hard to change it over for all those hundreds, right?
Right.
How are you moving that money
back to the
how are you moving it back to the States?
Okay, so
this is where drug smuggling gets incredibly dangerous because
definitely.
You're going to raise alarm bells everywhere,
definitely.
right?
Definitely. I came up with this on my own. I would go to these same currency exchanges in Sydney.
Okay, so now just to clarify, once the bricks got there, you got on a plane and flew down there.
I would fly down there.
Okay.
And I always called it picking up a backpack because I'd get like a backpack full of cash.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I was like, is my backpack ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I would go into the city in Sydney, down the same place, Martin Place, in that area. And like I said, there's all these currency exchanges, and I'd go to these currency exchanges and I would buy, instead of getting straight US dollars, I was getting US dollar in traveler's checks.
Right.
So I would buy traveler's checks, and I would do this over a course of days until all the money was exchanged.
Right.
And
$5,000 here, 7 here.
Yeah, I never was the guy that walked up with $9,999.
Yeah.
To me, that's a red flag.
Of course.
So it was always like, usually around 6,000 or 7,000 I would exchange. And then I'd go to this one down here and I exchange more. And I would turn them into traveler's checks. Now the traveler's checks, I would mail those back to myself.
Right.
I would mail them to my dad's house, actually.
Great. Way to get your dad involved. Your
he
sweet
had no
dad.
idea. Yeah, my sweet dad.
Yeah.
He'd have no idea, but I would like express mail, like certified.
Yeah. How many would you put in an envelope?
Oh, there'd be like, $50,000,
Yeah.
And I would do it over, I wouldn't mail them all in the same day.
Of course not,
So I'd have send the traveler's checks. I had the receipts for the traveler's checks. So if they got lost in the mail,
you got get back.
I got my get
proof,
back.
Of course.
I had that.
Yeah.
So, and I
don't know why I never thought of doing that in my days of sending drug money or getting drug money sent to me in bulk across the country. I guess because you still have to put a name to it. You still have to.
Well, they never asked for ID doing that, just a signature. So I was putting my name on these, This
is what's different now too, is that today, in this day and age, you have to use an ID.
Yeah.
You even have to use an ID at FedEx now to send out a box.
Wow.
Which is back even in 2010, at my height, when I was dropping 4 boxes off a week, you could just sign it, using a fake name and send it off.
Right.
Okay. So you would get money orders sent, piecemeal to your father's house in the States.
Right.
Then what?
You
just do that till it's done?
Yeah. And I remember my dad would be like, "Hey, Ryan, you got like 10 pieces of mail sitting here from Australia."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Just put them aside, And I get home and I go fly back. and I'd go straight to my dad's house, grab it.
Right.
And now, okay, so now I've got that, and I'm cashing it. I'm using the traveler's checks because, you know, they're like in $100 denominations,
Right.
these traveler's checks. And I'm using them sometimes for everyday things, buying groceries,
Yeah.
and I get the change from it,
Yeah.
you know, and
then you take that money and put it in the bank.
yeah. And then I'd even go to Vegas, and I would go to the Cage, you know,
Yep.
in Vegas, and I
Yep.
would at the Rio or the
Mm-hmm.
MGM, and I would change like, you know, a couple thousand here and a couple thousand there. And I'd hit like all these different
Yeah.
casinos, you know, never doing it more than to ever draw attention to me. You know, I never got busted for anything to do with money.
Okay.
Ever.
Now, did you think about like opening up like an LLC or something to where you could actually show receipts and pay taxes on the drug money? That happens all the time.
No, I believe it. I
Yeah.
never thought that far ahead.
Okay. Yeah. We actually taught on this show one time that that's a way to launder money is by
Yeah.
taking drug money, purchasing things in cash under
Right.
your LLC and then selling it under that
Right.
company. Now you're on the books. Now you
Right.
declare it and you actually pay taxes
Right.
on whatever the profits were on
Yeah.
that.
See,
But you never got that far.
No. And, you know, and I look back on it now, I had like a golden opportunity to really, I had a great paying job in the studios
Yeah.
and I could have still had, but when I started making all this money doing my thing with Australia,
You can't waste your time with
Yeah, but
making
it's-
$1,500 a week.
yeah, but that would have been a great way to, like, you know, I could have saved every single paycheck
Yeah,
for a year.
right.
And, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it wouldn't have been that off the charts for me
Right.
to buy a house.
Now,
You
what was
know-
Wayno doing? Was Wayno at this time? Do you know how much he was making?
He was making more than me. He
was.
was definitely making more than me. He was, you know, because he was stepping on it. It was his plan. You know, it was his uncle that worked at the
right.
airport.
That
and it
makes
was like,
sense.
you know, I was like on the American side,
Yeah.
you know, and he was gracious enough to like bring me in on this, you know.
Sure.
And
So he made millions.
definitely, but he'd started a family around this time too. So he, you know, he did buy a house.
Yeah.
He did have a family.
Did he get away with the house when everything came crashing down, or they seized it?
No, they seized it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is where all the fun has to stop.
Right,
Unfortunately,
right.
you know, the music stops.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
Okay. So, you know, during this time, you know, like we were partying pretty hard too. You know, we were definitely getting high on our own supply, you
Yeah.
know, but the markup was so huge that we were able to.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was some guys from Orange County that were doing some dirt in Australia.
Mhm. Also surfers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't really, I knew him. I met one of them, you know, a couple times. Wasn't my buddy. I got nothing bad to say about him. But he was definitely like, you know, we weren't, you know, I never had the guy's phone number,
Yeah.
you know, but I knew him, you know.
So by now,
friends
secrets
are
out.
friends.
Secrets out amongst the surfing community. Like the way to make money moving dope is Australia.
Oh, yeah.
It's a gold mine.
If you're a surfer and you like
Yeah.
to party and you ever bought a gram of cocaine in Australia,
Yeah.
you knew. Fucking Jesus.
Yeah.
you
Holy
know?
shit! All I got to do is bring 2 over here, and I'm
Yeah.
rich.
Yeah.
Okay.
So these guys started getting involved and doing, taking cocaine to Australia, but they were the exact opposite of me with handling their money. They were opening up bank accounts. They were sending money back to the
Right.
States, Western Union,
Yeah.
and which all red flags.
Totally.
Total red flags. One of the guys I saw in the brief walked into a Commonwealth Bank in Australia and opened up a bank account. Just walked in there. He's been in the country 2 days on a tourist visa. And he walks in and he opens up a savings account with like $80,000 cash.
Yeah, you'll be fine, right?
Yeah, that won't draw any attention. And then walks back into that same bank 2 days later and wires that $80,000 cash back to his like Wells Fargo account back here in California. Like
Yeah. And already Interpol and everybody, all the agencies around the world are starting to share information.
Yeah.
You know, this is 2003, right?
Yeah.
So it's,
no, this is a few years later. This is
what
probably
year?
This would have probably been like 2006 or 2007,
yeah.
I believe.
So by this time, governments are already going after money as a way to stop drug trafficking.
Definitely.
Okay.
And so these guys are just setting off alarm bells.
Yeah.
And they fly back to Australia a few months later. They're already on the radar. They get shaken down at the airport. One of them does. And they go through his phone and at customs, and they downloaded all the information off his phone. I saw all this in the brief.
Right.
I read every bit of the brief when I eventually got pinched. And they downloaded everything off his phone, all his text. Just because you delete your text messages on your phone doesn't mean they're deleted. You know?
Yeah. Pro tip. That shit saves.
It's out there somewhere. So,
even with like burner phones, even with like tiny little 2007 bat phones.
I'm not sure, but I know as long as they got your number and your phone, whoever your phone carrier is,
if it's linked to your name, they can subpoena. They can go to Verizon and get every number. Yeah, right, exactly.
But they can download. They can hook up your phone to their computer. At Sydney Airport, the customs guy can walk away and he can download all the phone numbers, all the recent calls, and all that there. You know. And that's what they did. They start connecting some dots, seeing, okay, I imagine this is probably how it happened. This guy's first phone call when he arrives in Australia is always to this number.
Right. So was it Wayno?
Probably.
Yeah. There we go.
So they start connecting dots.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is his first phone call when he arrives. 2 days after that, he's opening a bank account. He's wiring money from Western Union back to the States and all this stuff. So they knew.
They're putting a case on this guy.
There's something fucking going on. In 2007, I believe in December, I'd kind of backed away at one point. I just kind of was just not feeling it for some reason. And in 2007, Wayne, and I think it was with these guys from Orange County, they did a load minus me.
Right.
And I wasn't, I just didn't really want anything to do with it.
You just didn't want to work with these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And it got pinched. So the cops were watching, they'd already seen all the crazy money transactions, knew something was going on. Phones were tapped. There was surveillance, and a load got busted
on the Aussie side.
On the Aussie side.
Okay.
The cops raided the plane before the Gate Gourmet guys could get on it.
Right.
They didn't know the exact what was going on, but they knew something was going on.
Did they arrest those guys though? If the keys were already in the garbage?
They found them in the garbage.
Oh, okay.
So now they're like, okay, this is it's an inside job.
Right.
Yeah. It's cocaine. It's an inside job at Sydney Airport.
Yeah.
They found it. Not enough evidence to arrest anybody.
Right.
But now surveillance is off the hook.
Yeah.
People are being watched like 24 hours a day practically. Yeah. So it's a back off time.
Yeah.
People are backing off.
Yeah.
And a couple years later, or say 2008, I'm kind of getting the itch again to get back.
You think heat might be off because you've taken enough time off to where you're like, okay, I think you might be in the clear.
Yeah, we're planning. I'm back with Wayne. I'm talking. Did
you think about going to a different area? Did you think about driving up and flying out of San Francisco?
No, it was always the LA flight was always our one.
I guess it doesn't really matter what you guys want to do. It's about what the Gate Gourmet people
which flight
are handling, right?
Exactly. So it was always the LAX
kind of at their mercy.
Yeah. And it was definitely because without them, there was no
there's operation.
Nothing. And now you're just like cowboying it through customs.
Exactly.
So around 2008, I'm getting the itch. I say, Wayne, dude, haven't done this in a while. I want to get back into it. I want to make some money. Yeah. And he's like, telling me it's red hot down here. The surveillance is on. And so they went kind of back and forth. And this is all, the cops are listening this whole time.
Yeah.
Man.
Wow.
And
your phone is tapped?
Phone's tapped. It's tapped on their end. The American authorities, the Australian authorities, for some reason, never wanted to involve the Americans.
Wow. Lucky for you guys.
Yeah. So but when I talked to Wayne on the phone, we were being listened to.
Right.
Text messages were being read. So then 2009 rolls around and we think the coast is clear. Let's do a test run. We're just going to do 1 kilo.
Okay.
Okay.
And by the way, is the money from those booming years, is that lasted you to this point? Or what have you done?
That was part of the reason that I was wanting to get back in there. It's starting to dwindle.
Yeah,
it's starting to shrink.
Yeah.
So I decide to, me and Wayne decide to try another one. Let's try one. We're just going to do one.
Yeah.
Little test run.
Okay.
And this was in September of 2009.
You had a courier from Australia come up?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And we did, it was just 1 kilo. This is, sent the guy on the plane, the whole,
Yep.
strapped him up, sent him on the plane. And, the next day I got a phone I got a text message. Actually, it was a text message from Wayne's sister-in-law. And she said, this is about the time when this plane is landing in Sydney.
Right.
And it just said, Ryan, you need to call Melissa now.
Melissa's Wayne's wife?
Wayne's wife.
Okay.
And when I read that, my heart dropped.
Mhm.
So I know what
Yeah.
something's going on.
Yeah.
This is not good. So I beelined it for a payphone, called Melissa, and she said, Ryan, everybody's been arrested. Everybody.
Holy shit.
Everybody's been arrested.
Did they raid their house?
Yes.
Wayne's house?
Yes, they
His
did.
family's home. Oh,
Family's
boy.
home, kids at home,
Yeah.
everything. And your name's all over the warrant.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, get the fuck.
Right.
I said, I don't know why that would be. And I hung up, and went straight home, cleaned out my house, everything, and I thought that I was going to be arrested at any moment.
Right.
I thought that, the DEA, whoever was going to kick in my door and I was fucked.
Right. Little did you know, the DEA had no idea because they weren't getting
involved.
fed any intel from Australia.
None.
Wow.
None. Yeah.
So how much time went by?
Between then and when I got busted.
And tell us quickly, because we got to wrap soon, what happened? Did they find them with product, or what happened to Wayne and everybody in Australia?
Wayne got convicted of the 2007 import.
Wow.
The 2000, he actually pled guilty. He didn't go to trial.
So this is conspiracy. This sounds like a RICO because they didn't physically get him with any product.
No.
This is all wiretaps and bank accounts.
Yeah.
It's all,
Yes.
it's like our version of racketeering.
Yes. So we got convicted. His conviction was conspiracy to import cocaine.
Yeah.
Dealing in the proceeds of crime.
Yeah.
Few years go by, all the guys at the airport, they got convicted of the same thing, conspiracy to import.
Gotcha. So they got the gourmet, gay gourmet guys.
Yes, yes. And so now fast forward to 2013. So now, years have gone by now.
What kind of time did he get? Did Wayne get?
Wayne got, he got sentenced to 16 years and he served 10.
Wow.
See, they had him as the ringleader.
The ringleader. How many bricks did they get him on?
They got him for the import in 2007, which I think was 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And then the second one with just 1. And I think they didn't like him too much because he got found not guilty from the original one back in 94, 5, whenever that was.
A pistol charge too.
And a pistol charge. So they slammed him. They didn't like him.
Yeah.
They didn't like him.
That's brutal.
At all.
That's a lot of time in Australia. It seems like, I would assume Australia is kind of like Canada. Sentences are a little lighter, but it sounds like they pretty much give you American time.
Oh yeah, they're
especially now.
Well, because they know how lucrative it is. So they got to say, they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying to dissuade it.
So fast forward now, they've convicted all those guys.
Yeah, everybody's locked up.
They're locked up.
But now, you're good. You just go back. You just fall back.
I fall back. But during that time, I started drinking a lot. Alcohol. I started drinking way too much, and I went to check myself into a treatment center. I got out of the treatment center. And now I'm living in a sober living house over in the San Fernando Valley. And this is 2013. And always remember this day, May 30th, 2013. And U.S. federal marshals showed up at the
at the sober living home. Oh, Jesus.
You know, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody there in that house knew anything about my life.
Right.
You know, I didn't tell anybody, you know. They showed up.
You don't see that every day at a sober living home.
No, it was at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
They came in, U.S. federal marshals.
Yeah.
They arrested me, and they said that you are being extradited to Australia.
Wow.
We got a fugitive arrest warrant from the country of Australia. You're going to be extradited there for a conspiracy to import cocaine. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I'm in for buckle up.
Yeah.
Strap yourself in. So
why did it take them so long? Why did it take them 4 years?
Well, I think they wanted
5 years.
Because, you know, those guys, I think they wanted to convict all the Australian guys first.
Yeah.
Because there was, I don't know the exact reason, but I'm pretty sure that let's see how these are, if we can convict these guys, then we can grab this guy in America.
Right.
And,
so did you think you were home free? I mean, because 5 years is a long time.
It was actually about 4 years, but yeah, from 2009 to 2013, it was almost 4 years from when the pinches went down to when they pinched me.
Right.
It was, so yeah, there was, I thought I was sorry. By that time, I hadn't forgotten about it. I knew my friends were in prison, but I was like, maybe I am home free. Maybe I just don't ever go back to Australia again and you're fine.
Yeah.
And little did I know.
What are you doing for work at this point?
You know, at that time I wasn't working. I was, cause I was trying to change my life at that time.
Yeah.
I was trying to get sober, you know, and I was sober.
Yeah.
I was, you know, living a sober living, and I was working on myself, I guess. And next thing you know, my life got turned upside down. I'm facing the consequences of something I did 4 years before.
Yeah.
And, I went to, the Federal Detention Center in downtown LA, MDC. I sat there for 4 months. I consented to extradition right away, and it still took 4 months.
Yeah.
And the Australian authorities came and flew over from Australia. They transferred, U.S. federal marshals drove me from MDC to LAX and transferred custody right there at the airport. Walked up to the Qantas Airlines desk, and there was 4 Australian federal police there.
You're in handcuffs?
Oh yeah.
Are you in like the jumpsuit?
No, they put me in my
you back in your street clothes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had like a waist chain.
Yeah.
And I think I had ankle chains on too.
That's embarrassing, right? You're around like the pretty little girls working at the Qantas airline desk.
Oh, yeah. And you know, and going down.
One-way ticket, please.
And going down there, I'm thinking, okay, this is an extradition. This is a police matter.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a bit more discreet. They literally walked me right through Tom Bradley the terminal at LA, the international terminal. And it was like, people are checking in, they're waiting to go on flights all over the world.
Yeah.
And people are going, what the fuck? Who's this guy?
Yeah. You see that in the international airport at the terminal. I you know, on my way to Colombia, I'm in line to get on the plane, and they're just handcuffing probably a couple of mules, right? From Colombia, they swallowed. And they don't give a shit. They'll just march you right out in front of everybody.
So yeah, they transferred custody right there. And it was, you know, and it was the cops, the Australian federal police that came over to extradite me back to Australia were the same cops that investigated my case. Yeah. Oh, so they were the guys. They knew me right away. They knew because they had put Wayno and all those cats away. And I always remember that the head guys on the case, his name was Dale Witters. And he looked at me and he had a big smile on his face. He's like, Mr. Wing, nice to finally meet you. I've been listening to your phone calls for years. Holy shit. And I was like, they've built a relationship with you and you don't even know it. They knew everything about me. Like he even knew that, like he even said to me, like, cause at around this time in 2011, my father had passed away. And, because they were still, even after they pinched those guys, they were still listening. Like Wayne would call me from prison once in a while. Yeah. We would talk in code and whatever. And so they were still listening then. Yeah. And in 2011, my dad died. And then, so when they transferred custody at the airport, one of the things he said was, oh, you know, I'm sorry to hear about your old man dying. You know, it sounds like, you know, he was a good guy. It sounds like Wayne really respected your father as well. You know, so, and I was going, wow, they're still listening even after the pinches. They were probably trying to see if you were going to make another move. Yeah, I would assume. I assume so. You know? Yeah.
just keep it on. At least your father didn't have to see you go away.
No, and that was one thing I was grateful for. My mother had to go through it.
Yeah.
My mother drove at the time when I was at MDC here in LA. She drove from, she was living in New Mexico at the time, and she was driving out like every 2 weeks to visit me because she didn't know, like, once I went to Australia, how long you're going to be gone. Yeah. You don't fly to Australia for a weekend jail visit. Of course not.
Right. So you get down there. You told me that they actually give you money, not like in the States where they assign you a lawyer, right?
Oh, yeah.
They actually give you money. The government gives you money to go hire your own lawyer down there.
Exactly. And that, which was, it was great. You know, it was,
how much did they give you?
I believe it was $50,000 Australian
dollars.
That's
a fucking shitload of money, dude.
Oh,
that's wild.
Yeah, it doesn't go in your jail commissary account. You know, it's just there, you know. And
dude, if they did that in America, we'd be in another $1 trillion worth of debt.
Oh, exactly. So I got a lawyer. It was recommended to me by somebody, by Wayne, I believe. I believe he had the lawyer sent over to see me, and I liked the guy. He did the best he could for me. In the end, I decided to plead guilty.
Of course.
They only had me on the 1 import with the 1 kilo. They had me nothing to do with money. No, they didn't have.
How did they not get you on the 2007, the thing that they got Wayne on?
Well, that was with those other guys from Orange County.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So they didn't have you with a lot of really like.
They didn't, dude, I was an under the radar guy, dude.
So if it hadn't been for the Orange County guys, you might have had another couple of years in you.
I think so. You know, it was a long flight to Australia.
Yeah.
On the extradition process, and I asked Mr. Dale Witters, the one of the leads on the case. He sat next to me, and I asked him. You know, I said, you know what? How did this whole fucking thing start? Mm-hmm. How did this? And he just looked at me and he goes, "Some people just don't know how to handle their money."
Yeah.
And I went,
yeah,
I knew.
Yeah.
So when I got to Australia, I got the brief. Our brief was it was 7 volumes. Each volume was about as thick as a phone book.
Wow.
The old school phone books that we don't have
with
anymore.
all your conversations.
Wow. 7 volumes.
That's crazy.
7 of those. Yeah. Imagine 7 phone books. And I read every page of that thing 5 times back to front. And it really, the whole thing started with the money.
Yeah.
It all started with these guys, with these guys being silly with their money.
So what did you eventually plead to?
I pled guilty to conspiracy to import cocaine.
Yeah. And what was your sentence?
I got sentenced to 7 years and I served 4. Yeah. All in Australia.
Yeah. 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 And that was, you kind of described it to me as, I don't know, not too serious.
You mean prison in Australia?
Yeah.
It was definitely, prison culture in Australia is definitely different than America. We didn't have, or different to West Coast, California prison culture.
It's not segregated by race.
Not segregated by race. People do, you know, naturally kind of tend to go to their own race. But it wasn't like you can't use that phone. You can't use that shower. Yeah. It wasn't like that, you know. It was, but, you know, it was a bit more of there was more of a Wild West atmosphere to it where, you know, guys could run up in your cell and you wouldn't have like the white boys all backing you up,
that's
you know,
right.
and shit was going to get settled on the yard the next day and whatever, you know, it was going to turn into a full scale yard riot, you know.
There's a lot more chaos when there's not order.
Exactly.
And that's probably why the prisons in America order themselves that way.
Exactly.
Is to maintain structure. You know?
But there was definitely violence going down. It was all like, you know, debt related and stuff, you know, and I never got into that. It wasn't, you know, most of the foreigners that are in prison there are in there for drug trafficking. There was other Americans, a lot of Canadians, South Americans, but they all wanted, you know, people were interested in me, you know, the Australians, you know, want to know like how to end up here. And I wouldn't say like I was popular, but, you know, like I was just, people left me alone. You know?
Good paperwork.
I had good paperwork. And that was another thing. When I got to Australia prison, they didn't check my paperwork like, you know, they do here or anything like that. And I was more than willing to show it. You know, I had nothing to hide. But it was, people left me alone. They were more interested in knowing about American culture and things like that. Yeah. You know, I remember some guys asking me if I ever see Snoop Dogg walking down the street and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I see him all the time.
Yeah,
like,
he's in Ventura.
Yeah. You know, it was just, it was different, you know, because I met prior to that, living in Australia, my whole Australian experience was surfing and this. Now I'm in this Australian prison and I'm meeting people that grew up in bad areas of Australia in government housing. And, you know, there's a shape. Americans have this idea of Australia of kangaroos and lifeguards with white zinc oxide on their faces and the crocodile guy, whatever, Steve Irwin, that's their idea of Australia, the tourist brochures. But there is definitely a seedy part of Australia.
Of course.
You know,
somebody's got to be poor.
Yeah. And there's a dark side, you know, and they,
Black people, like Aboriginals.
Yeah. Aboriginals. And I love those guys. I got along good with them, man. They got
fucked worse than the American Indians, man,
I think they did,
according to them, you know?
Yeah. But I got along good with all those guys. I get along, I get along with most people. A lot of Asians, they got a big Asian population there. And I got along with those guys. They always had the best spreads, you know?
Yeah. So when'd you come home?
I came home. I was released on May 29th, 2017. And I was deported from Australia.
Can you go back there?
No. Never? They told me I could try. I think it was like, I can't remember. I think it was 10 years. They said I could reapply, but they transferred when I was being released, the day of release, the Department of Corrections transferred me from their custody to immigration custody. And I was driving straight to the airport. Yeah. And the guy told me, he's like, you know, you can apply to come back to Australia. You got to wait 10 years. And he's all, but I'll be frank with you. He's all, you will never be allowed.
They don't approve. They never
especially
approve.
The nature of your charges. You will never be allowed in Australia again, ever.
Yeah, they don't play. They're like Canada in a lot of ways. Like if you got caught doing that in Canada, they barely let you in if you've had a DUI.
I know guys have been knocked back for DUIs. Yeah.
Well, you know, fuck it. You saw it. You got your fill of Australia.
Oh yeah, I love it. You know, the thing I miss the most about Australia are my friends.
You talk to Wayne still?
I haven't in a while, but
is he out though? He must be out.
He is out. Yeah.
Is he staying clean?
Yeah, he is. Okay. He is definitely clean. He's definitely surfing as much as you know, like a kid again.
And so are you? You were just in Bali.
I was just in Bali. Like I got back 4 days ago. Yeah. And Bali, Sumatra. Living it up.
So you're a lifer.
Yeah.
You're a lifetime surfer. Yeah. It's never going away. That's who you are.
Yeah. And definitely I'm you know, and I'm doing it, but now I'm doing it clean and sober.
Yeah.
I've been sober. I had a little relapse when I came home from prison and now I've been sober for almost 5 years now. And, I'm just seeing it like doing these trips, same trips I was doing before, but I'm just totally doing it with you know, like seeing it through a new set of glasses, you know, sober, clean, but still have the mindset of a little kid that same little kid that started surfing in Venice Beach, you know, when I was 8 years old, you know, I still have that hunger for the surf. And the action's just different now. It's just, it's good life.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congrats on your sobriety, on your freedom. Thanks for coming down here and blessing us with really one of the most unique stories we've ever had on the Connect. So thank you again, Ryan Winger, and we'll hang out soon, man.
Yeah, for sure, Johnny.
Right,
thank
take
you,
care.
dude.
You got it, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Peace out.